Okay, Access Part 2. Let's see where we were, and let's see if we can get this thing finished. The fancy things we can do with databases. Going to go to Access and open Section 2's Access project that I was working on last Friday, where we had many queries created all the way up to AC2-23. And I'm going to go to that page in the textbook, and we'll continue with the projects there. And let's see, it doesn't make it easy. Oh, there you go. You can go to AC2-22. Just to review what we did on AC2-23, the last thing we did, let's see what we did. Right-click, Design View, and I see that I did sorting on treatment cost. And I view the results, and I see, oh, sorted my treatments based on their cost. Suppose I only care about the first few, the lowest costs, and I'm sorting ascending. If I only care about the 5 lowest, I can click on Return 5, and it gives me only the first 5 of the results. Now for us, since this is such a small database, showing everything isn't a big deal. I've got maybe 15. But just imagine a database that had millions of entries, or like Google's, billions of entries. When you do a search, what they show you is only like the first 20, but they tell you that they know there's 50 million more out there of the search results. And of course, you're never going to go past the first 100. So they actually are doing that. Whenever they show you results, they're only showing the complete information, perhaps about the first 25 results, because it would take a long time to send you all those 5 million results, and it'd be a lot of wasted time on their part, and wasted bandwidth, because you only see the first page of them. And that's how databases become efficient, by viewing the information you need, and of course giving you the ability to see more if you want. So there's where I can choose how many to view in my results. Now while we're here, the next thing they would like us to do is import an extra table, because it may be related to the information we have already in our table. So they would like us to import a table of vendors. Now we have imported the actual tables in before, but let's do that again just for a little review. They throw this right in the middle of the chapter like they're going to do something with the data, but let's see if they do. So I can close this, saving my change. Yeah, I'll go ahead and save changes. Let's go ahead and go to external data, and let's see, where do I get my due data from? Oh, remember that data was over in the data sources. If you don't have those, I'm going to go get them again. Over there in the oh yes, right there. The data files are listed in the syllabus, down here under Student Companion Site. Over there's the data files, and this PDF is a list of the locations. There is the Access data file that we want to download, and because I have my browser set to send everything to the Downloads folder, I can now go over there and view it in the Downloads folder and copy it over to my Section 2 CS101 folder that I'm keeping in a special place way over here. And I'm going to drag that file over to Section 2. And now I'm going to extract that data file so then I can go to it from inside of Access. So I'm extracting the data from modules 1 to 3 of Access, and now I can see that the data is there, so I can close it. I can go back to Access now and go to my From Database External Data, Data Source from Database. Let's go get an Access table, browsing over now to where I just downloaded that and extracted that file. And I'm hoping this downloading, extracting, something you're doing all the time, but now get a little more experience here. Section 2, there's my module 1 to 3 access, module 2 data this time, and I'm going to import a table from Vets Extra Tables. I'm going to import a table from there, default setting, and I click on the Tables tab, and there is the table. I have to select that. I forgot to select that. I clicked OK, didn't know where it went. I have to select the table I want to import and click OK. And no, I don't need to save the import steps. And now I have this veterinary vendors table. Let's see what they sent us. Oh, I see an ID, name of a vendor, and the quantity and cost of their materials. We're going to come back to this table in a little bit and total up the amount of supplies and the costs represented in this vendors table. But they have us import it, but then they don't do anything with it for a while. Just to show you, we can import data. I'm going to go ahead and save changes. I adjusted the column width. Yes, I want to save that column width I just adjusted. Now let's continue on creating more queries. We did a quick import that we're going to use in a little bit. Let's see, we've already done some sorting of data. Let's see how we did sorting of data. Remember that. Right click, design view. I chose the sort ascending, okay? That was just a review of that. Now let's create a query that does some more sorting. Here we go. Gonna start from scratch just to give us good practice creating from scratch. Create, query design, the treatment cost table. Choose tables, treatment costs. Don't need to see that anymore. I'm gonna view all the columns, double click on each column. And I want to sort, first of all, let's sort on cost ascending. Double click to toggle to ascending. And I click view and I see they're all sorted by cost, but canine and feline are all mixed together. Let's sort first by canine treatments and then by feline treatments by putting sort ascending on animal type as well. So sort by 2 columns now. And I view that and I see now, oh yes, it's sorted by canine, then by cost. The key takeaway here is I can sort on a column and the leftmost column takes precedent. Watch what happens if I happen to move animal to the right side. You don't need to do this, but if I move animal after the cost, now it's sorting by cost first, and then within the same cost, canine or feline. Not terribly useful to sort it that way. So just remember to order your fields in the order of sorting if sorting is important to you. So now it's sorting by canine, then by the cost within that. The time I find this most useful is when I have a list of people and I want them sorted by last name, then first name. Again, another reason to have a separate column for last name and first name, so then you have the kids within the family sorted in the same family rather than sort by first name. But many people like to sort by first name and give you the option to change that depending on their database. So sorting on multiple fields is what we did here. Let's go ahead and save this as AC2-27 AC2-27 2-27 sorting on multiple fields, multiple columns. Left to right precedence. And there's ways to get around that if you don't want the order listed that way, but you want the sorting listed that way. Now comes another important topic in databases, having to do with relationships. The whole time we've been designing these tables, I take a look at the appointments table, I see that I'm related or referencing a patient ID. I'm referencing a treatment number and a veterinarian and an owner. All that information is in another table. So if I want to see that information, I can open up those tables and see that information. But a query lets me pull information from multiple tables, such as the appointment table and what the name of the treatment is. In the appointment table, I can see I'm referring to a treatment number, but suppose I want to know what treatment that is by name. Well, that's in the treatment cost table. And I don't want to be skipping back and forth between tables and remembering, oh, the treatment number. I can create a query that includes both tables. Here's how we do that. Create, query design. Now let's add both the appointments, double click, and the treatment cost table. And you should see a line between those two tables that Access knows to put there because we use the same name in both tables. And what this line means is, I'll show you the appointments if there is a treatment number associated with it. Or another way to look at it is, I will show you a treatment costs, treatment information, when there is a appointment that's referring to it. So let's see what happens when I view the appointment. I think we want to see the date. Let's see, I get this right. I want to see the date of the appointment, the name of the treatment, the animal type for the treatment, and the cost of the treatment. But only if there's an appointment. So let's see what we get. We get our appointments listed with the actual name of the treatment that goes with that appointment. And remember, the date comes from the appointments table. This information came from the treatments table. And it all works because of this relationship. The treatment number is being referred to by an appointment, and therefore I'm only going to show you treatments that are scheduled in appointments. Now let's go ahead and sort that by date. It just makes sense to sort that appointment by the order that they're coming. And now I see sorted by date. The key thing here is this link right here is very special. It's the relationship between those two tables. And let's see if they have anything more. We're going to save this as a query now. AC2-31. Do Control S, save. AC2-31. Appointments and treatments. Multiple tables coming out of one query. Now let's take this a step further because I think you can handle this. I'm going to pull this down to make some more room. I'm going to add more tables. Let's add the owner's table. The owner is related to this table, but there is no line there. What's going on? Well, it's because they didn't give it the same name. Access doesn't know that owner here is referring to an owner ID here. So what do? I can click and drag owner to owner ID, telling Access, yeah, that's the relationship. The owner ID is what's being referred to here. And let's add the owner first and last name here to my results. And now let's see what I get. I see who the owner is for that appointment. Let's do a little bit more here. Let's add the actual patient by adding the patients table to this query. And, I see lots of lines show up. The only line I care about is, yes, the appointment is referring to my patient ID. Let's list my patient name in the appointment. Oh, sorry, not the patient ID. Sorry, accent. Let's list the patient name in that column. Now let's see what I get. Oh, there's the name of the pet. And you know what? I want to list the pet first. So I'm going to click on this and move it to the left of owner first and last name. And there I see my pet. And what other table is related to my appointments? Well, I've got a patient, date, time, vendor. Oh, veterinarian. Let's see here. We can arrange this so we don't have crossing lines. Oops. And it looks a little easier to read. Let's add veterinarians here because we are referring to a veterinarian from our appointments table. Let's double click veterinarians here. Oh, it doesn't see the relationship again because they weren't named veterinarian ID here. I can click and drag veterinarian to veterinarian ID, and I'll rearrange this so I don't have crossing lines. And let's view the veterinarian's, how about the veterinarian's last name? Multiple tables. This is where the power of the databases come in. I have the data in tables organized very carefully, and now I can view information that's related all with one query. There I see the last name of my veterinarian. They're going to be busy in June, on the 30th of June. We better make sure Veterinarian Black doesn't take vacation on the 29th because they got to get back for these appointments. This is where databases are very powerful that you don't have to worry about in your just introduction to databases. But if you got into database programming, this is where, if I look at the SQL view, you don't have to learn all this ugliness. Access is trying to make this a lot easier to understand by drawing diagrams instead of learning this inner join thing in the database language. That's what's happening in the database language as you make these queries. How would you like to see that instead of this? This is not super simple, but it's a little easier, I'd say, to digest than this kind of code. And Access is giving us a somewhat more understandable way to view the connections between the data in our multiple tables. So this is, I'll call this the super multiple field query. So let's do a save as on this one. File save as. Save object as, because we're saving just the table. And I'll call it AC2-31 appointments linked to all other tables. And the whole reason that we have those links is because there's information in those other tables that are pertinent to the appointment. If I didn't care to list the patient name, I wouldn't need the link to the patient's table. But that seems like a useful thing to have in my appointment query. Not only the cost and the exam, but who the patient is. And I need to contact the owner. Well, I'll know who the owner is, and it's old Ted. We're going to see Ted for the first 3 appointments. And the same veterinarian. All being pulled together by a multiple table query. And I can close that query and continue. Saving my changes because I adjusted some things. Now let's go back to that simple query on AC231. This one here that just lists these. Let's come back to this and take a look at that connection. Back in design view, this little connection here, remember what it says is, show me the treatment number, the treatment name and animal and cost when I have an appointment for that, because the tables are linked. But suppose I want to see the treatment costs whether or not there is an appointment. Well, that's when I can come and double click on this, what they call the join property, And I have multiple options here. The one we want to choose is show me all treatment costs, even those that don't have an appointment joined or connected to them. Sometimes this is useful. I don't use it very often, but in the textbook they want to just give you a little taste of some of the various things you can do with these joins. I can show all my all my treatments, regardless of whether it has an appointment associated with it, and see what I get. All my appointments here, but all the other treatments that have no appointment associated with them. And I think it makes sense to sort them by animal type and cost, just like we were doing before, within the date. So those without appointment dates are associated or sorted by animal type and cost. And then those that do have a date, they are sorted by date. I don't think this is terribly useful, but it does show you that you can adjust that join property in case you don't want to only show the appointments or the treatments that have an appointment associated with them. To me, I could just open the treatments table to see everything. So this is what we call the modified join. And we're going to save that as AC2-33. But remember, I don't want to do a Control S because it's already a query. I'm going to do a file save as to give it a new name because we've made some modifications to it. Save object as, save as, and I'll call it AC2-33 appointments and treatments special join. I'll call it special join. They have a term left or right join. Don't worry about knowing those details. Just know that that link there can be adjusted, and I can change the property just by clicking on that link. They call that the join. All right, let's go on then. A few more topics here. Suppose I have a query that has some useful information, such as the appointments and treatments, and I want to generate a report on this information. We can create a report on queries or tables. Remember the 3-click technique. Let's do the 3-click first. Choose the table we want to view a report of, click Create, and click Report. 3 clicks, and I have a report format, and this is messed up a little bit, but I can adjust the view of that, and then do a view of my report, or do a print preview of my report, and print it or print it to PDF. But 3 clicks lets me see that information in a I'd say a more professional look that I could then send to someone. 3 clicks to create a report. Now let's go through the wizard just to show what the wizard would do for us with that. I can go ahead and Control S save this. Or actually, it did create it without me needing to do a Control S when I created the report. And I changed the design, and I'm saving it as the same name as my table, and it shows up down in the report section. Let's use the wizard this time just to show us what choices we have as we create a report. So the 3-click is the most common thing to do. Just choose your source of information, choose Create and Report. But suppose I want to see what choices I have without learning how to design it on my own. Let's go to Create. This time, let's go to the Report Wizard. Remember the choices I have, what fields to show in that query. I'm going to go ahead and show them all by clicking the double arrow. And now let's see what other options I had. I could choose my grouping levels in my report. So if I want to group them by animal type, I could group them in my report by animal type. And then let's go next. What are the choices? I could sort them by other fields, but remember the query itself is already sorted. So I could let the query control the sorting, or I could change my sorting, but I'm going to leave the sorting to how the query decided to sort them. And then next I can decide how to display my data, either stepped or block or outline. And we'll go with the default block. And also remember, I have the choice, portrait or landscape. This is not many fields in this table, only 4 columns, so I think portrait will work. But if I had a lot of columns, landscape might be a better choice. And I click next, and I could remember I still have the choice of fitting it to a page also. Now I click next and go ahead and preview it. It puts me in print preview. See how it sorted them by animal type and then by date and treatment and cost, and gave me a level report if I wanted to print it or if I wanted to close print preview and just view it rather than the scary design view. Don't worry about design view. The view is the friendlier. You are welcome to play with design view, and you can learn lots of things there, but it's very confusing. And I remember first starting with Access, trying this on my own and thinking this doesn't make any sense, but little by little I figured out how to use design view. So you're welcome to explore that, but all you have to worry about in this course is knowing you can generate reports. And I can close that, and there I have my reports created down there. I can always open a report and see the results, and it added a treatments 1, it added a 1 to the end of my report name. Treatments can always be, or reports can always be viewed easily once you've created them. If it's only 3 clicks, I know some people that they hardly ever create reports because they know it takes 3 clicks to get a report out of that. And I don't have to go ahead and save it because 3 clicks got me there. And I don't have to have lots of things saved and use up space in my database. The same thing goes for forms, that you can create a row by row view of the result of a query just by going, again, the 3-click, and let's see what report here. They would like to look at query appointments and treatments again, I guess. Let's go appointments and treatments. I'll do this one. Appointments and treatments linked to all those that other information, because I think that's a more useful query. Appointments and treatments linked to the rest. Let's go create. And 1-click form. Don't worry about form design. That's something we don't even touch here because there's so many possibilities. Let's go just form. And I have a form viewing the information produced by that query 1 row at a time. So maybe a little more user-friendly view of each row of information. And if I were doing this fancy with the design capabilities, I would have a picture of my pet showing up as I view the form. And maybe even a report. I could have a picture of each pet shown in that report. Very nice to view that individual data. And this is what you see when you're working with data entry or you're working with another system. They are doing this kind of thing, connecting to a database. When you view your products or your postings, you're viewing the pictures you posted with that posting. They're all stored in a database linking the picture to that particular piece of information. I don't have a picture capable here. We could add that if we, in maybe the next section where we'll be modifying our database. But for now, the report or the form, remember we created this with 3 clicks. I'm going to go ahead and save it since I want to have evidence that I created this form. So I can close it, saving my form. And I'm going to save it as the same table name. Let's see, let's put the page name AC2-36. Let's just change the name AC2-36. But I can leave the same name for the rest of it, 2-36. A form I created with 3 clicks. Remember, I can do that with any source of information, whether it's a table or a query, to view the information 1 row at a time in a nice friendly browse through the information. With our database, it's tiny, but 3 clicks can create a report a user-friendly view into the data. Now, I'm not going to have you do this, but in the book they also show us that we can not only get data from other places, but we can also export data to other places. I can save it to an Excel spreadsheet, I can save it as a text file, or even as another database. I could either send it to a database or create one from a table in here. But I can also do a file save as and save a backup of my database. So you can export in many ways. I don't use the email because that sends me to my default email Outlook that I don't use. And there's more places. You can actually send it to databases that can be connected across the internet. This is a very special kind of database connection that takes a little more configuring on your computer to do this, but this could be actually a connection to somebody else's database anywhere on the internet. Pretty cool power there. Again, with the advanced course, you can learn about to do all that kind of stuff. Not going to worry about exporting data. Just know that you can do it. Going to jump now to how we can do calculations in a query. So far, we've just extracted information that's there in the table. I see information from that table, choosing what columns I'm viewing. And we can do multiple tables. But now, let's do a query on that table that we imported. Let's take a look at that information and then show how a query can be used here. It shows me suppliers of vaccines or chips, and it shows me how much, I'm assuming this is how much we have in inventory and the cost associated with that. Suppose our insurance company wants us to get a total cost of everything we have in inventory. Well, I could go through here and copy paste it to an Excel spreadsheet and do a formula for calculating quantity times cost and then doing a summation, and that's probably a pretty smart thing to do. But suppose I could do that with a query and let the query do my calculations. Well, let's show you how that would be done. I'm going to go to Query Design, and let's view that veterinary vendors table, and let's view their name, their state, because they may have different tax rules for different states, and their supply that they give us, the quantity and the cost. And what do we get? Well, we get a listing, name, state, what they supply, quantity, cost. I need quantity times cost in another column. How can I do that? Here's how that is done. In that top column of a blank field here, I can type this special syntax to basically become a formula. Here's how it's done. I just start typing the name, which is going to be total cost. I can just type in that column, but I have to type it carefully or it won't come out right. Total cost colon. This is like the equal sign in Excel. It's saying there's going to be a formula coming after this. The cool thing about this is total cost also becomes the title of that column. So total cost colon is telling Access, put a formula here. And now when I refer to a field, I don't refer to it by a cell address. I put square brackets around the name of the column. So square bracket quantity means take what you find in the quantity column and then asterisk to multiply, and then square bracket the cost. This is like an Excel formula that will now appear in this column. And I don't know why that check mark does not appear checked. I want to turn that check mark on. And now let's see what shows up in my query results. I can now see my total cost calculated for the fields that I have in inventory. So just like an Excel formula, when I view the data, it's doing the multiplication. Now, is there a way, let's go to design view. I would like this to show me the summation. In design view, can I show it the summation on that column? Let's try totals. Let's see what I get there. Yes. No. Let's try totals group by. There we go. Group by sum. Now let's see what I get. No, it doesn't give me the sum. Oh, I thought I could do a quick demo. Oh, forget the total. There is a way to actually see the total at the bottom of the table, and I forgot how to do it. See how that one shows the costs, and this one isn't. Anyway, there is a way to do that formula, referring to other columns. And the reason they work is because I properly spelled what was in square brackets. If I misspell what's in square brackets, it will turn that into parameter query and say, what value did you want to put there? So let's go ahead and save that one, and we'll save it as AC2-45. And we'll call it cost calculation. Cost calculation. Total cost calculation. And when I run that, I see the total cost. And it still bugs me that I don't see the summation showing up there. I think there's an easy way, but I just have forgotten. Oh. Because this guy gets a total field, and I'm not sure why that doesn't also get a total. See how that? Well, even this total isn't coming up. Actually, that's a default entry. Maybe a query will do that for me. So in the actual table itself, we have put a calculation of our cost. I could put that in a query as well. Let's do that in a query just for fun. Actually, no, this is a query. This is a query, sorry. I could actually put that calculation in the table itself. But it's better to put it in the query. Now, let's see if they have any more. I think we may be coming to the end of the tasks for our queries. We can calculate statistics on our queries where we show the totals. This will be our last query for today. I can create a query with query design showing me the veterinary vendors table, and all I care to see on that table is one number from that table. All I care to see is the cost. And if I run that, I will get all the costs of my supplies listed. The only reason we're doing this is so we can add to my query the calculation by clicking on totals. And now instead of group by, I can show give me average. Something I was sort of trying to do before. If I only have that as the only thing in my query results, look what I can get now. I get one number, calculates my average of my costs by doing the totals and change the total to give me the average. If I want the sum of my costs, I could add them up, but average costs of my supplies. And we're going to save this as AC 2-49, sorry, AC 2-49. AC 2-49, average cost calculation with totals. So using this total feature, I can let Access do some calculations for me. Now there's plenty of fancier things I can do, but that's just one way, and let's just take a look how we did it. We created a query on cost, turned on totals, and I can then choose average, min, max, count, all sorts of other expressions I could build myself, but they have a built-in, give me the average of that number. We will end that here. We have explored queries with the data tables that we have provided, and some created ourselves, imported the rest, imported additional table, did calculations on that. There's plenty more you could do with queries, but that's the introduction to queries and databases. On the next assignment, we'll be modifying, backing up, and using more of the features that are made available to us in Access. So save this, and your Access Project 2 is done and ready to upload. And I'm letting you out early today.